Good day, dear ladies and gentlemen. This is our collaborative talk on space biology with Galina and Nechitailo. This lecture is our view on the problem of biological support for future space missions. It is clear now that spaceflight factors influence on biological objects. How can we make space garden in such case? What experience do we have today after almost 60 years of human spaceflight? This is a large problem and cannot be overviewed in one short talk. I would focus on energy results, what was hidden for a long time due to different reasons, while other studies can be found in the literature. This is one reason of this focus. Another reason is that these studies were directed to make a space garden as biological support for future long-term space missions, to Mars, for example. And I don't know other massive biological studies in space flights that was so focused on space gardening. More possibilities appeared when first orbital station Salyut 1 was launched. Massive space biology program has been done during this flight. 23 days in station, in space, in orbit. First experiments was growing plants. First vegetation system on the board. First green harvest grown in space. It was a great success. However, this flight was a tragedy. Cosmonauts were died at descent. The venting valve for spaceship was faulty and open at high altitude. In 1975, the biological equipment was installed in Salyut 4 space station. A massive pool of biological experiments in space has been started. For example, the first experiment with fish in orbit was done at that time. You can see the Oasis 1M system for cultivation of plants in right corner. Such devices were permanently installed in the station on ground and tested before the launch. In flight, in orbit, only sets with substrate and seeds were changed during each mission. The devices provided fixed position of the plants in artificial substrate, regular watering, aeration, and illumination of the plants. At the same time, the devices provide safety of the biological experiments for crew and for other devices on the station. Unique and suitable equipment was designed, tested, and used such as Svetablock, Oasis, Phyton, Vazon for Salyut and Mir station. Next station, Salyut 6, carried out a lot of biological experiments. For example, first experiments with Medusa set were done. You can see it in right corner. This experiment is related to abiogenic synthesis outside of station in free space. The first experiments on origin of life. The cassette was exposed in free space for years. Next step is Salyut 7 space station. Cosmonauts Berezovoy and Lebedev, a permanent crew, have done a wide number of biological experiments. Electrostimulation of pea plants, leaded bear gravistat, microorganisms kinetic of growing, proteus growing kinetic, seeds exposure, orchids growing, abiogenic synthesis in free space. Point out, at the time, the microorganisms resistance to antibiotics was tested during the microgravity and found the increase of resistivity in space flight. New period of space biology has been started with Mir station. From first expedition, each crew carried out biological experiments on station. By volume of data, about half of experimental results were received from Mir station. These are genetic studies, morphological studies, harvesting first wheat, first birds from eggs, snails, cancers, first radish harvest, first cabbage harvest, first kidney beans, first tree in space. Tissue culture experiments gave increased biological activity of plants, first potato harvest, first result is long-term seeds exposure to space, 6 years, and got harvest from them. Mir station expeditions were more open for international We can establish a space garden from seeds taken from Earth for many eatable plants. For long-term space flight, the seeds must be treated with anti-mutagen agents. The harvest in space flight cannot be expected as big as on Earth. Productivity of the plants in space will be lower than on Earth. Content of biological active substances such as proteins, lipids, sugars, and others would be different. Cosmonauts ate it, but it was not their main food. More investigations are required where such products grown in space can be main dish for human. Another way harvesting in space flight and regrow it again requires more efforts. For today, we are successful with harvesting of wheat, radish, cabbage, potato, and some others in space flights. Eatable plants. These plants can be reproduced in space garden. However, these plants require more space experiments with multiple generations in space, establishing specific environment to get harvest. Other eatable plants are waiting for space experiments. This is where we are today. Thank you.